JSON or JavaScript object notation is mainly used to communicate between the server and the browser, mainly using REST API. Since browser understand only HTML, CSS and JavaScript, and communicating with browser in his own format or in the format which browser understands becomes much simpler using JSON format. From JSON object, the data or the necessary information can be extracted very easily using like object.name or something like object.address, customer.address, like that. So JSON is mainly a key value pair where the key is always the string and the value may be either a string or a number or maybe an array or can be another JSON object itself. And JSON has few advantages over XML and few similarities also like XML. So we will check how JSON actually works. So we will define a plain JSON string. So JSON is always text format. So if we want to define a JSON string, we need to pass the JSON object or the curly braces in single quote. So here before the curly brace we had one single quote, and after the curly brace we had another single quote, and inside that we had our name and value pair, but it is actually a string. And if we want an object, then we will just remove those quotation single quote and just use curly braces, then name and value pair. So their name can be either a name, age or city or any other string format. So it should be always string, and values, if it is string, it should be under double quotation, and if it is number, it can be directly inserted. What are the types of value a JSON can hold, we will discuss later. And if we want to convert a JSON object to a JSON string, in that case we use json.stringify, and inside that we will pass the JSON object. So we will pass this JSON object and it will get converted to JSON string in this format. Again, if we want to convert a string to a JSON object, which is always required, so in that case we will use json.parse, and inside parse we will pass the JSON string. Let us check in a Chrome browser. In any Windows or in any blank tab, you can just type F12 or inspect. It will open up this drawer. So inside console, if we see any error, just clear it, and we will just see how this print works. So this will be the single quote, and once we press enter, if we console out, console.log, and if we print JSON string, we can see that the string got printed. But how we will know that this string is actually a string and not a JSON object? So suppose you are trying to access or trying to get the length, in that case it will display 44 because it will take each unit as one character. And if you want to access the name field, you won't be able to access it, so it shows undefined. But if you define as a JSON object and remove the single quote, oops, some exception, okay, and then console, and instead of JSON string it should be JSON object, press enter. So you can see that it printed in a hierarchical order. So it's like name John, age 31, city New York, and if you want to access it like JSON object.name, you can directly access and the name will be printed. Similarly, if we want to access age, you can directly access it. And now we will try to convert or parse and stringify it. So in that case we will do var JSON string, we'll define it as s so that it should not complicate with this one, and here we will get JSON dot parse and we will pass JSON object. If we press enter, there is some error. Okay, so the error is because we are parsing already a JSON object. So here it should be json.stringify. Press enter. If we console.log, if we print JSON S, we can see that it got printed. Similarly, if we want to convert a JSON string to a JSON object, in that case JSON dot what it should be, parse, and there we will give JSON string and console.log JSON object, and we can see that it got converted to a JSON. So a JSON object can have value of type string, then number. So we can access the object like JSON object.name, it will print John, we have already seen. Or we can use square bracket, and inside that we can give the key within double quote, and it will give the same result as JSON object.name. Similarly, we can have a JSON object inside another object. So here we can see that it has JSON object has one key address, and the key address has another JSON object which has key, street and lane. So we can access it using JSON object.address.street name, JSON object.address.lane number, and the other fields like JSON object.passport. So it's in level 1 and it's in level 2. So we can use JSON object.address.lane number. And even the value can be of type null, or it can be of type array, and it can be also like true or false, like any boolean values. So JSON object dot is married, it will return true. JSON object dot SSN number, it will return null. And JSON object dot children name, and with index 0 it will return John, with index 2 it will return George, with index 1 it will return Smith. And suppose we want to edit any object value, so in that case what we will do is, like if we want to edit the name John to David, so we will assign JSON.name, or like JSON inside square bracket and name, how we will access John. So similarly, instead of accessing it, we will assign David to its name, like equals to David. Or if it is like means nested JSON object, so in that case what we will do is like JSON object dot address dot lane number equals to 26, or we can use like this also, like JSON object square bracket, then inside quotation address, then again square bracket inside quotation lane number. And one more important thing is, like if I want to add another variable, like inside address I want to add home address, or inside the main JSON object I want to add like my postal code. So how we'll do is, like that time we can't use dot. In that case we need to use this square bracket, and inside that we need to use or give the new key. So here new key is home address, and it is equals to 24 Park Street. So this new home address is created inside address. We can give it a try in our Chrome. So here we have JSON.object. So we have already seen how we have accessed it using .age or .name. Instead of giving dot, we can use a square bracket and then double quote, and then we can use age. So you can see the similar output. And suppose I want to add something in JSON O. So first let me print out again JSON O. We'll clear it and print JSON O. So here we can see we had name, age and city. Suppose I want to add postal code. So in that case what we'll do is like JSON object parenthesis, then postal code, and then if we give null, it will assign a value of null. So if we print out this, we can see that postal code is null. So I will update this postal code to something string or like any number. So postal code has been updated. Even we can change this to string. Before that, we'll print out and see what is being printed. And if we want to update to something, and if you want to directly see this object, so what you can do is like you can do json.stringify and print JSON O, enter. So you can see that postal code is pin 7689. So here we had this multiple hierarchical JSON object. So it will always throw error. So if you want to access it, then JSON object dot address dot lane number, and we can see that lane number is 12. And if I want to add like home address, (24) Park Street, console.log JSON object, and we can see inside address we had another object named home address 24 Park Street. Now you may have a question like the same thing can be or is already been done using XML. So why should we use JSON? So JSON doesn't have any AND tags, so it makes the code little bit less messy and easy to read. XML uses AND tags, like first name should always end with /first name. So it makes JSON shorter. It's quicker to read and write, though you can say that YAML is much more quicker to write because we don't have again these curly braces and double quotes. But personally I prefer JSON because means if you format it, it makes the hierarchical where the parenthesis started and where it ended, which is not in case of YAML. So we need to have this alignment fixed in our mind. So JSON can use array. So we had already seen addresses, or we can use like children, then inside children it has an array of Ram, Shyam, Madhu. Similarly, we can achieve the same thing using XML, but it's little bit more complex structure. Like we need to have children, then inside children we need to have each child like Ram, Shyam, Madhu. So we have already checked what are the data types JSON support and what it doesn't support also. Let's see. It supports string. We have already checked. It supports number. It supports null value. It supports array. We have checked like children. It supports boolean. So we have checked like is married true. It supports JSON object like one JSON inside another JSON. What it doesn't support is like date format. So if we want to put date, we need to use double quote, and inside double quote we can pass the date. It doesn't support undefined, which is a type present in JavaScript, and it doesn't support any function, though you may see sometimes that we have defined. So it is actually converted by some other like plugins like Angular or React, and it uses like inside the plugins it calls that function and it maps internally, but native JSON doesn't support any function. If you think that this video is useful, then a sub to the channel would be incredible. Catch you next time.